Good morning, everybody. Tom here. I'm in my bee yard. Yes, it's a little overgrown with grass in here. I need to work on that. But hey, today I am going to go through the entire process of harvesting honey, extracting honey, and bottling honey. And I'm going to share with you everything I use to do that process. So if you're a new beekeeper, you have already spent a lot of money, people. You've already spent a lot of money. So some of the stuff I'm showing you is not stuff I had my first year. I got it maybe my second or third year. Some stuff even I got my fourth year. Sometimes you can find some other friends that are also beekeeping, and maybe you can, buy an extractor together and share it. There's bee clubs that have some of this equipment. None of my stuff is super fancy. I've just acquired it over the last couple years, and it makes processing a lot easier. But the first thing I'm going to do actually is, last night I harvested 20 frames of capped honey from 2 hives, and harvested it, extracted it, even bottled some of it last night at like 11 p.m. at night. And now I'm going to do the last step of the whole honey harvesting, extracting, bottling process, and that's putting your frames back on the hive. So here's all of my extracted frames from last night. And yes, they probably still do have a little bit of honey in them. Maybe with a better extractor, you could get even more out, like an electric extractor, but mine's just a hand crank. But I'm not too worried about that, because this is gonna go back on my hives. They're gonna eat that honey, they're gonna clean it up, and where I live, you can harvest in June and August. So they're just going to reuse this and keep making more honey for themselves and for me. So let's go ahead and put these empty frames on first real quick. Okay, folks, that was a quick but important step, putting those uncapped wet frames back on. Bees will clean them up. What we're gonna do now is extract hopefully 10 frames. I'm not sure exactly which hive yet. I'm gonna check them. I think this hive is probably the most likely ready to harvest. This is a little early for me, but locust has been probably the best year it's ever been, and my honey tastes so good this year. Here's what I'm using to harvest. I just have a Tupperware bin that can hold about 15 frames or so. So plenty of room for one hive. I got my smoker, I got my bee brush and my hive tool. Sometimes I put on queen excluders a few weeks before I harvest. I didn't get to that this year. One hive I used, I didn't need it. The other hive I wanted to harvest from actually had quite a bit of brood up there, so I had to put a queen excluder on. So there's a lot of debate about queen excluders, if they're worth it or not. I tend to try to put them on about 20 days before I'm going to harvest, but I just didn't get to it. What else do I got? I got my veil, I got my gloves, I got my smoker. I use a propane torch to get it going. A lot of people might not wear gloves and their veil all the time, but if I'm extracting honey, I'm absolutely going to wear my veil. It's just silly not to, people. I'm too pretty to get stung in the face, I'll tell you that. This is when the bees are going to be sometimes the most angry, because you're taking their honey, right? So it would be silly not to wear your veil, people, and your gloves. All I'm going to do is I'm going to be taking out a frame at a time, brushing the bees back into the hive. Then I'll put them in this Tupperware. Once this Tupperware is full, I'm actually going to take the Tupperware away from the bee yard and brush it again. There's not going to be that many bees in it, but a few bees. Just so when I'm ready to extract, I'll have less and less bees that I have to worry about. Let's check out this hive. Okay, this hive is not ready to harvest. It's gonna need a couple more weeks, I think. This side looks pretty good, but over here, not quite capped. That's okay. I mean, this hive will probably be ready to harvest, I would say, in maybe 2 weeks or so. That's okay, that's okay. You gotta open them up to know what's happening. Let's try the other hive. Like I said, it's still pretty early here to harvest, maybe by a couple weeks. But that locust honey was just... Okay. Can't harvest this one, people. Man. The last hive. Can we harvest from? I'm gonna say yes, I think we'll be able to harvest from this one because there's quite a few bees at the top already. I need to look at my notes, but the first hive I opened up, actually, I just put a box on there 2 weeks ago, so there's still a growing hive. But I think this hive will be good. Let's hope. Yeah, using a little smoke, and most of the bees are gonna go to the bottom here. Here we go, people, really easy. And this is just a shallow super. I got mediums and a few shallows that I got donated. So hey, if I get free stuff, I'm gonna use it. I know a lot of people just stick with one size, which I do generally, but having these shallows, less honey, but quicker harvest, more likely to get a harvest. So here's a nice example of almost 100% capped honey here. Over here, probably like 98%. I kind of messed that up when I was opening it. But this is a great frame to harvest. Probably 2.5 pounds in this shallow frame is my guess. And then I'm just going to place the frames in the plastic bin, which may be off to the side here. Okay, folks, so I harvested only 9 shallows real quick because I didn't put on my queen excluder, and there was one frame that had brood in it, so I put my queen excluder on, and I'll leave that honey for now. And I'll be putting the wet frames back on there tomorrow, and I'll get another harvest. So I've carried my, I guess, Tupperware bin of just 9 shallows up towards the barn. A lot of this I do inside, but it's just hard to show you inside with the lighting and filming. So I'm going to show you a few more tools I have that have really made a difference. So this here is a wax uncapping box. I got mine from Man Lake. I'm sure they sell them at other places. So what's cool about this, it's a double bin. I'll show it to you in a minute. And on the inside is a metal slatted floor. And then there's a bar you put on top here. Let me show you that. This little bar you put on top. And it's really nice. You just take your uncapped frame, you set it here, and then you use your uncapping tools to uncap the wax. You collect the wax because wax is pretty valuable. You can use wax to make lots of, I guess, beauty products. Me, mainly, I do lotion bars, chapstick, and candles. Those are probably my 3 main ones I always do, especially candles, because they're easy and they're fun and I like them. So you collect the wax, and you would be surprised how much honey is still in the wax. You let it sit overnight at an angle, it's going to drip down, and then you use this honey gate, and you can bottle 1 to 2 pounds of honey that you might have discarded. So it's pretty handy, it's easy. It also keeps the mess all in one place. Let me give you a quick shot here. So here's my wax from last night, and then I got my hive tools in there, which are kind of gross. The main hive tool I use, I don't know what's the official name for it, but I call it just my uncapping tool. It has a flat surface here that's at an angle, and then this presses against the wax, and this set of tines here is what scrapes it, and then this cleans it and scrapes it away even more. This has proven invaluable. When I started a few years ago, I just used a big kitchen knife, and I know they have those plug-in knives. I've used those before, but those plug-in knives, you know, you gotta be careful with them. You can't set them down. They're freaking hot, people. So even though I have one of those plug-in knives that I got donated, I don't really use it. This is the main tool I use for 98% of the uncapping process. And then this tool here gets the other 3 or 4% along the edges. It's basically you're just scraping and puncturing the cap wax. You want to get as much of your honey uncapped as possible, because if you don't uncap it, you're not going to get the honey for our next phase, which is the extractor. Now, I know people that don't have an extractor use the crush method if you're just starting out. I've never done that. That makes me cringe. These frames take bees sometimes a whole season to make if it's a new hive, but then you can reuse these frames 3, 4, 5 years. I've heard people that just use them for 20 years. But eventually, sometimes they break down and get a little nasty. I mainly use wax frames or wax foundation, but I'm transitioning to plastic for all of my deeps because I'm not going to be extracting those. Let me show you the extractor. Okay, here's my extractor that I just used last night. Real simple, 3-frame extractor. It can hold deep frames, but I only use mediums and shallows. It's pretty efficient. Now, I'm a small-time beekeeper. I have 13 hives right now. So, I mean, you know, it's a process. But I tend to only harvest 2 hives at a time. And then a day or 2 later, I'll do 2 more. Or maybe I have to wait a week if one hive isn't ready. So this extractor is affordable. I've had it for a couple of years. I forget how much it was. It was on Amazon, Vingly. I don't know, just some generic brand. And then the next step from the extractor, you have a honey gate at the bottom. That honey gate goes into a 5-gallon bucket that has a filter to filter just some of the wax and bee parts. And then it's time for bottling. So let's go ahead and check out the honey bucket. Okay, beekeepers, we are on our last part, basically, of harvesting, extracting, bottling. Eventually, I'll show you the extractor and uncapping and everything. It's just, you know what? As a beekeeper, I'm pretty busy, people. Trying to show you what I can when I can. So this here, this is 36 pounds of honey. I just weighed it, so that's pretty impressive. This is called a honey bucket with a honey gate. Honey is viscous and it flows differently than water, obviously. And this honey gate, you can control how fast the honey comes out by, I guess, opening the valve all the way or partial or just very slowly towards the end. This is just a 5-gallon food safe bucket. And then I also have a filter. Let me show you the filter. Oh, there's a few dead bees in there. That's bound to happen. So the filter catches everything you just saw. It catches mainly wax in there. There's going to be a few bees, people. It just happens, unfortunately. But what it does let through, it lets through pollen and a lot of micronutrients, right? Honey has a lot of great healing properties and also medicinal properties. And hey, it tastes really good, people. So it does let all of that good stuff through. It just takes out the wax and dead bees and bee parts and stuff like that. The last part is bottling. Of course, you don't want to really bottle outside of people because you're going to attract bees. My bee yard's right over there. You don't want to do this, people. Do as I do, not as I... No, do as I say, not as I do. Is that what it is? I'm just showing you this real quick because it's too dark in my house. It's not great lighting, so don't bottle outside like me. Don't be a dummy, people. I'm just doing this to show you real quick, and I may not bottle all of this out here. As soon as the bees figure out there's honey, they're going to start being here, and they're going to be swirling around, and they can get into a frenzy and start robbing and fighting each other. So really, you don't want to bottle outside, people. I normally bottle inside my kitchen on the counter. I just want to kind of show you a little bit of the bottling process. I underestimated how much honey I was going to have, and I sterilized all of my jars in a hot water bath before I put my honey in them, just to clean them. So I had to go back inside to do some more of that. But this gives you a general idea. That, again, was about 36 pounds of honey. It was about up to here. There's still about a fourth of that left. There's probably 8, maybe 10 pounds left in the bucket. Quarts are about 3 pounds of honey. Pints are 1.5 pounds. These little guys are 4-ounce jars. When I go to a farmer's market, I like to have a wide variety of jars, down from even a 2-ounce size up to sometimes I do 1/2 gallon. I just haven't bought any 1/2 gallon jars yet. So like I said, I like to mix it up and to have something for every customer. That's how a small-time beekeeper is going to make money, is being able to diversify a little bit. If I just sold 1 jar of honey and it was 25 bucks, that might not be your budget when you go to the farmer's market. Your budget might be $10. Or sometimes I'll go to farmer's markets, I'll give my daughter $10 to spend and say, hey, you got to use your money and figure out what you need, right? So I hope this video has been helpful for you, kind of showing you the process of harvesting, extracting, bottling. And next step, people, is making money. You can make money beekeeping. It just takes a couple years, and you don't want to grow too big and always buy equipment. This year is going to be a great money-making year for me, and I love doing it, so it doesn't get much better than that, huh?